seed, and they delivered. Remember, following a disappointing performance after Game 4, Pistons head coach J.B. Bickerstaff had this to say about how his team would respond.
Come out punching. You know that, I promise you. We're not going to lay down for anybody.
And they didn't. Tobias Harris misses the jumper here, but Asar Thompson right there to clean it up. See if you can identify this trend here early, guys. Cade misses with beef stew.
Offensive rebound.
Right there for the O board.
Bully ball.
And then Dennis Jenkins, he misses.
The
but
man's
Cade
game.
corrals it with the jam. Yeah, 7 offensive boards. Led to 12 first quarter points. Second chance points there for the Pistons. And then Cade had it going here in the second.
He did. He went live. 3-level score, Malika. And you could tell he watched film because he came off the worst playoff game of his young career in Game 4, and he bounced back in great fashion.
And he scored 20 of Detroit's 28 second quarter points on 71% shooting, no less. So Detroit up 6 at the halftime. But we said this was a duel. Paolo Banchero.
Better get a hand up.
Steps back.
Listen, I criticized Paolo a lot throughout the course of the regular season, but this postseason, he has really, really elevated his game. And last night, this is when you want to see him the most. On the road, in a hostile environment, going toe-to-toe.
He had 45 points in this game, but Cade Cunningham.
Nah, this is my city, though.
There's the dagger.
Go to Cade.
Snatch back.
Let's take a listen to Cade on if he felt pressure after Game 5.
We all felt it. You have to feel it. We've had a great season so far. None of us want it to end. So, you got to put it all out there. We dug ourselves a hole, like I said. And, now it's time to climb our way out. But it's possible. We handle our business tonight. We got to go to Orlando and handle our business there.
So Cade Cunningham, Paolo Banchero, they put on a classic in Game 5. They each scored a playoff career high of 45 points, and they're the first pair of opponents to do that since Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray did it in the bubble. Although, if I remember correctly, they had dueling 50
balls.
pieces. That was an insane game. But this one was as well. I will point out, no Franz Wagner, right? That he's been the Cade stopper, and so that may prove to be a issue for the Magic moving forward. But you said, Perk, that this reminded you of another epic battle that you experienced.
It did. In 2008 semifinals, Paul Pierce, LeBron James, Game 7 in the Boston, toe-to-toe. I believe Bron had like a 40-point, almost triple-double. Paul Pierce went out there and had, I believe, 45, and they was going toe-to-toe. And I just remember Paul coming in saying, I always protect my house. You ain't getting the win up in here. You know what I mean? And that's the feel that I got last night watching that game with Cade and Paolo, because Paolo came in there and he did what he was supposed to do. He came in there and did what a young rising star, superstar is supposed to do, and Cade responded and did what he was supposed to do, and that you got to protect your crib. And he did that.
Cade certainly did. Jalen Duren, though, is still struggling a bit in this series, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take more of guys kind of involving him in other ways. They got to get him on the glass, doing the dirty work, and not thinking about the game. The moment's got a hold of him right now. Takes time. Shout out to the San Antonio Spurs and Tim Duncan. Like, my leaders, they did a job of talking me out of the moment and making me not be distracted by social media or the media. Timmy, I knew he knew the plays well enough, but in the finals, his teammate texted, where am I supposed to go on this play? Knowing damn well he knows where he's supposed to go, but it had me just thinking and locked in on the challenge at hand and the task that I didn't even worry about the finals or the lights. So if he can get his teammates to be involved or integrate him in conversations and also involve him in offenses, it might let him think about the game less and just be more in the moment. So.
And it's the little things for a big man like Jalen Duren. Real talk. It's the little things, Malika, because it's obvious that he's not going to score a lot of points because the game plan they didn't completely, and that's okay, but it's other ways to be effective with that type of size and athleticism. Go be a monster on the glass. Go block 3 or 4 shots. Also, don't slip and roll so quick out of your screens. How about holding your screens a little longer so that Cade and Duncan Robinson could come off and all of a sudden they're getting wide open looks and now you're rolling to the basket looking for offensive rebounds. At this point, there's 6 games in. There's no more, we got to find a way to get Jalen Duren going. No, how can we utilize and maximize? I used to do that for KD and Russ all the time. I knew I wasn't rolling to the basket to receive a ball, so I used to always hold my screens and let them come off, snake action, so they could get into their offense.
But that story is really interesting, Danny, that Tim Duncan would just text you because he wanted to keep you, locked in and engaged.
Yes, not thinking about the game. He was like, hey, in this play.
Do you think that's what Jalen Duren needs? Is that a lack of, obviously there's not Hall of Famers there yet, but in the future there could be.
You got some vets there. You got Tobias Harris there, but Cade, Tobias, those guys need to take him under their wing and just kind of give him some simple things that he can just focus on. Because I feel like he's overthinking it right now, and the moment is getting a hold of him, and he's not showing up. Again, he can block shots. He can even get some hard fouls. He can do something that impacts the game with your presence. Be big out there. If you be big, it'll change the whole dynamic of this series if he shows up.
Coming back from down 3-1, it's not impossible. The Pistons have done it against the Magic before, but it is an incredibly tall task. I'm looking forward to the playoffs rolling on, but we also are just 8 days away from the WNBA season's tipping off. Preseason action, it's already heating up. And last night, it was all a dream. Angel Reese returned to Chicago, and Atlanta defeated the Sky. And in her preseason debut, Reese scored 8 points. She also added 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 assists in only 1/2 of this preseason. They are still there, standing on the edge, on the brink of elimination. They're going to need a win tonight for Minnesota, in Minnesota, for the first time to force the series to 7 games. Now, the Wolves, they've held strong at home, but they remain shorthanded in Game 6. So let's say hello to Anthony Slater, who is covering this series for us. And we know, Slater, that they were able to win, Denver was, this previous game without Aaron Gordon. But he is so very important to them. What's his prognosis for tonight's Game 6?
They're listing him as questionable again, which I think this is about the 5th straight game. I'd lean towards doubtful. He was out here on this court yesterday after practice getting, I would say, some light shooting in. Every time I've seen him in this series, it's been very tentative movement. Even, he played Game 4 here and warmed up pregame, and there was no burst to his warm-up. And you even saw it in the game, 23 minutes. David Adelman says he's laboring. I just think it's risky to put him on the floor, number one, for his long-term health, but also number two, if they are to get beyond this series, they don't need a laboring Aaron Gordon against the Spurs. They need Aaron Gordon against the Spurs. So I think it's possible they just sit him and hope they can win the series without him. And I will say quickly on the Minnesota side, Ayo Dosunmu actually popped up as questionable for the Wolves with his own calf issue, and that's something to watch. He had 43 in Game 4 here.
Yeah, Ayo Dosunmu not being able to go for Minnesota, essentially they'd be without their 3 top guards, and that would be a huge blow for them, which brings us to they don't want this thing to go 7. They want to get this thing done. And yes, I know they have gone back to Denver. They've won in Denver a Game 7 last season, but that was with Anthony Edwards and company. That's not the case this time. So what's their mentality going into this game?
Yeah, Dante DiVincenzo was at shoot-around this morning, kind of strolling on a scooter, you'd say. I'm sure that lifted spirits to a degree. They're obviously very shorthanded, but they're at home. And, this team without DiVincenzo and Edwards in the second half of that Game 4 outscored the Nuggets 62-42. This is the type of crowd that really gives them a lift, and I think Jaden McDaniels, more than anybody, might need it. I was in Denver the other night. He was getting what I would call the Draymond Green treatment from the road crowd. I mean, it was that level of boos every time he touched the ball and, in warm-ups, and it's obviously not something he's used to. Mike Conley said he told McDaniels on the bench, hey, like the amount of hate that you're getting tonight, you're going to get 10 times the love in Minnesota come Game 6, and I thought he had his worst game of the series in Game 5, so he needs to bounce back, and I think the crowd will try to lift him to that tonight.
Yeah, this feels as much of a must-win as it can for Minnesota at home in this Game 6. Slater, thank you so very much for that insight, and I think you're absolutely right. Unfortunate injury news. It really has been a huge part of what's defined this series, but there's certainly still star power. There's guys who are stepping up in their role and filling the void. So, Danny, when you're looking at this matchup, what is the key player that you have your eye on?
I'm looking at Rudy. And if Minnesota wants to survive or have a chance of closing this series out, it's going to rely on him. And those have seen in the past, when Jokic plays one-on-one and scores a lot, Denver, in general, as a team, doesn't play well. Yeah. So Rudy's going to have to take on that matchup. Not just him, can't put it all on him, Naz Reid, Julius Randle. But it's got to be a one-on-one situation. Rudy's got to be protective of that rim like he was the other games where he held them to like 60 points in the paint. Last game, 86 points, a 20-point difference is a big jump. So as you see right here, we've gone on this before in the past. Rudy, one-on-one, Jokic at his best, or Minnesota's at their best defense, but not letting guys cut and get layups. So Jokic likes to get that left shoulder. He likes getting in the paint. Rudy knows that. He's just shading him to his left hand as much. He won't go left. Comes back to that right. Fatigue sets in a little bit too. This is fourth quarter. This is crunch time. Usually Jokic gets these baskets. Again, Rudy's got him one-on-one. Forces him off the block a little bit. Makes him catch a little further. Stay in his ground. shading him, playing that right hand some. Know he wants to get to the middle to that right hand, trying to get him to go left. Jokic doesn't do it. Pump fakes, spins back, high contest shot. This is where you're at your best and you have your most advantage or chances at staying in the game, because defensively, you guys are decent. They're only good on offense. Denver struggles defensively. You can get whatever you want against their defense, but on offense, like you said, against when Denver's playing offense, you got to hold them to under 120 points if you can. That's the only way they have a chance at getting in this series or winning this series anyway.
Well,
I know you give me that face.
That was cute. That was a great breakdown. Shout out to Rudy. But this is all about the greatness of Jokic right now. Top 10 center of all time, and the stage.
You better show it.
Well, is he ready to dance? Like, when you talk about Jokic and we talk about a guy that's considered top 10, he got to be able to go win these next 2 games.
Yeah.
No Anthony Edwards, no Dante. So you got to go out there and deliver. I understand you're going against a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, but damn it, it's time for you to set. This is a legacy moment. He's coming up on his 100th game of his playoff career. Look at these numbers, Malika. Nobody has done this throughout this span.
That's remarkable.
It's ridiculous. But on the flip side of it, I want you to look at this side of things, like Danny was just talking about. He's been struggling in this series, right? When you look at his points per game, the lowest since 2020. Field goal percentage, 42% from the field. He's struggling in that department. And then three-point percentage, he's shooting 19% from the field.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Jokic and we're talking about legacy, because legacies are made in the postseason, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but we're talking about a guy that's a top 10 center that's trying to continue to add to his legacy. And over the last 3 years, you think about second-round exit, and now on the verge of being a first-round exit, it can't happen, especially without Anthony Edwards being on the floor.
Yeah, it's the injuries that have really piled up for the Timberwolves here. And we know that, once again, the Wolves are going to be without Anthony Edwards, right, for Game 6. But that doesn't mean that Minnesota is going to be without hope in this game, because do you see that orange wristband? Ant always wears them. You can see him in the highlights. And Ant wears that actually for a young fan that has defied the odds. Our Shams Charania has more on a really special relationship between Ant and this young man that is so much bigger than basketball.